Mummy B, Scene 15. I woke up to the jarring sound of my alarm clock. I fumbled for the off switch and buried my head back in my pillow. As the drowsiness wore off, the events of the past few days flooded back into my head. I sat bolt upright in bed and pulled back the covers. My bed was completely dry. I guess my accident really was a fluke. Then remembered Jane, her predicament, and my plan to help her. I took a quick shower, wrapped a towel around my waist and headed back to my room. Opening my closet, I retrieved the black trash bag I had rescued the night before. I opened it up and pulled out the pack of adult diapers. Not even a day ago I had been ready to throw these out, and now. I took one diaper from the pack and turned it over in my hand. A bit apprehensive, I started to put the diaper back in the pack, then changed my mind. Dropping the towel to the floor, I spread the diaper out on my bed. Lying atop it, I fastened it securely and stood up. The diaper held in place. I rummaged through my closet and chose a baggy pair of jeans and an oversized t-shirt. After getting dressed, I checked myself in the mirror. Satisfied that my secret was well hidden, I went down for breakfast. "Good morning, Peter." Mom said, "Sleep well?" "Yeah, I mumbled, a bit nervous. As I sat down, I swore the diaper rustled so loud anyone in the kitchen could have heard it. Apparently no one did. Mom went about cooking breakfast, Dad kept reading his paper, and my sister stared blankly at her iPod. "Samantha, put that thing away." Mom chided my sister. Rolling her eyes, Sam dropped the iPod into her pocket. Samantha, or Sam as she liked to be called, was the definition of a 14-year-old girl. Sassy, sarcastic, and not nearly as grown as she thought she was. It was a good thing she had no idea what I was wearing. If she found out, well, let's just say my social life would be over. I gobbled down breakfast, grabbed my backpack and headed for the door. "Peter, wait a minute," Mom shouted. "What's that?" My heart stopped. "What?" I played dumb. "Something sticking out of our pants," she pointed. Thinking my life was about to come to a crashing halt, I looked down. It was a stray sock, sticking out the leg of my pants. "Oh, thanks," I said, relieved, pulling it from my pants and tossing it to her. Well, at least it wasn't underwear. Imagine if you had gotten all the way to school. Now that would be embarrassing. Mom teased. Yeah, embarrassing. If she only knew. Driving to school, my nervousness grew. Would someone notice? What if they did? Might someone hear it in a quiet room? See it when I bent down at my locker? I could just take it off now. Then I reminded myself that Jane had already worn a diaper for an entire day and had been wearing goodnights for the rest of the week. No one had noticed, not that I knew of at least. Besides, despite my nervousness, despite the fact that I told myself I was doing this to help Jane out, I also found myself a bit excited. I couldn't believe I had sworn this off the day before. I pulled into the parking lot, fully resolved to go through with my plan. Entering the school, it didn't take me long to find Jane. She was standing beside my locker waiting for me. She looked far from cheerful. "Hi," I said with a smile. Jane made only half an attempt to return my smile. I decided to tell her my secret right away. "Come here, I want to show you something," I said, pulling her into the same empty classroom we were in when she showed me her diaper. "What, Peter?" "I'm not exactly in the mood for surprises." Jane sounded slightly annoyed. "Oh, I thought you weren't mad," I said, worried. "No, I'm sorry, I'm not," Jane sighed. "I'm just fed up with this punishment already. I've had to use these things twice already, just wet, thank goodness, but honestly, to have to ask my mom to change me at my age, it's too much. And I have be the only person at this school wearing, well, you know." "No, not the only one," I answered back. "What do you mean? Those kids in that special class?" "That doesn't make me feel better, Peter," Jane said sarcastically. "No, look. I replied, lifting my shirt and pulling down my waistband just enough to expose what I was wearing. Jane stared for a moment, dumbfounded. Peter, is that a... Jane sounded confused, but why? Well, I explained, I told you I felt bad that I was responsible for your... Jane interrupted, Peter, I told you it's not your... Okay, partially responsible for your punishment. I conceded anyway, I didn't want you to go through this alone. As long as you have to wear them, I will too. Jane stares at me for a minute. Did she think this was too weird? Peter, Jane started, that's just so sweet. With that, Jane grabbed me and kissed me full on the lips. I was shocked beyond comment, beyond action. Jane pulled back and looked panicked. Oh Peter, I'm so sorry, I hope I didn't mess things up for us. It's just you're such a good friend, and you've been so sweet lately, and you've... Jane, stop. I interrupted her, I feel the same way about you. I pulled her back to me and kissed her again. After we kissed, Jane leaned against me and I held her. For a few moments we just stood there, in the empty classroom, saying nothing. Jane broke the silence. You know, we've tried this before, taking this friendship further. I know, I responded, but somehow I think it will be different this time. There's never really been anyone else I felt this way about, not the way I feel about you. Me too, Jane said, her head still on my chest. I mean, I've never felt like this about anyone, except you, that is. And I do think it will work this time. We kissed again and then Jane smiled. You know, she said slyly, most guys try to get a girl's attention by putting on a nice shirt or something, not a diaper. You know me, I teased, I go to be different. Jane laughed, then her eye lit up as she gave me a mischievous grin. I don't like that look, I said warily. I want to see it, she exclaimed. What? I said, acting shocked, like I knew this wasn't coming. No. I mean, I can't. Oh please Peter. Jane pleaded, you've seen mine. Just then the warning bell rang. Ah, shucks. I said sarcastically, we got to get to class. Saved by the bell. Literally. Jane shot back, don't worry, I'll get what I want. As we walked together to our first class, Jane reached out and took my hand. We entered our first class together and took our seats. I recalled the day earlier in the week when I had caught a glimpse of Jane's diaper. She seemed much more adept at wearing them now. I noted how she carefully pulled down the bottom of her shirt as she took his seat. I followed her example. Now I wasn't as worried about someone noticing Jane's diaper as I was about someone noticing mine. Other than me having a hard time concentrating on the lesson, again, our first class was rather uneventful. When the bell rang, we walked out hand in hand. No one seemed to notice, but then again Jane and I were used to being pretty much invisible to everyone else. I stopped by the water fountain for a drink before Jane and I headed to our next class. The rest of the day leading up to lunch proceeded fairly normally, well, as normally as it could for two high school seniors wearing diapers. When lunch came, Jane and I grabbed our trays and headed to our usual table. I stopped by the vending machines and bought a sports drink. If you drink all that, you're going to need that thing you're wearing. Jane teased. I hadn't thought much about that. I was completely ready to wear these things to support Jane, but was I going to use them? Jane didn't have a choice, I did. Jane seemed to read my mind. Look Peter, it's really sweet what you did. But don't worry, you can take it off when you have to, you know, go. Suddenly I seemed to make up my mind. No, I said firmly, in for a penny, in for a pound. If you can't take yours off, then I won't take mine off either. It was then I noticed Jane's tray complete with sandwich, fries, a side salad, and apple juice. You don't seem to be too worried, I commented. Last time you were in this situation I practically had to force the food down your throat. Well, Jane replied, it's like you said before. I certainly can't go a whole week without eating or drinking. Besides, Mom gave me a bit of a reprieve. What kind of reprieve? I asked. Well, I still have to wear and use these horrible things. Jane explained, but Mom didn't want me to get an infection or something. So I am allowed to change myself once before she gets home. I just have to save her the evidence. What do you mean? I said kind of dumbly. You know, Jane said, pointing towards her waist, the evidence. Oh. I exclaimed, you mean your, oh I see. So you have an extra diaper with you? Sure. Yes. Jane glanced around nervously, it's in my bag. Actually, I think I might need it soon, I'm a little wet already. Wait a minute, Jane asked, did you bring an extra one with you? No, I didn't think about it. I answered, thinking to myself that would have been a really good idea. But what if you need it? Jane looked concerned. Don't worry, I'll be fine, I never go during the day anyway, I assured her. But as I stood up, a twinge in my bladder indicated otherwise. I gave Jane a quick kiss and headed off for my next class. Jane took her bag and ducked into the nearest restroom.